Hi, my name is Richard. I'm a tutor at Kensington and Chelsea College, and today I'm going to give you some plumbing tips. A leaking tap doesn't necessarily mean that you have to call a professional out. Most people with a good knowledge of DIY would be able to address themselves. Relatively simple process, and one that you can be quite safe in the way that you do it. You can isolate the water first off, so you're not running the risk of flooding the place, and you can then follow these simple steps to solve the problem of your leaking tap. The convention from the manufacturer is that any tap will be accessible. The internal workings you can get into. So although it may not be obvious as to how you get into it, it will be possible. The normal route for a tap of this type is for there to be a removable top. In this case it's a plastic cap, which will expose a screw that holds the whole mechanism together. You need to remember when you're doing these sorts of jobs that small components like this, if you drop them, will disappear down the basin or the sink. So my favourite way of dealing with that is to make sure there's a dust sheet or a tea towel or something actually in the basin. Remove the screw, put it to one side. This will now allow the actual head of the tap to come off. This now exposes what we call the headwork. This is the headwork of the tap. This is basically the moving part, the operating part of the tap. To take this off, you will find that the manufacturer will have given you a nut shape. So we use anything that's made of brass, which is a soft metal. We'll use a flat face tool on, so an adjustable spanner rather than a wrench or any tool that's got teeth on it. The spanner will engage, you close the teeth until it engages on the brass. You need to support the tap. Normally it's enough to hold it. If you do have to try and put any kind of tool on, you have to be aware that the chrome will scratch. So you'll need to wrap a face flannel or something around there so that you're not putting the metal in direct contact with the metal. And that will then come out on the screw thread. As this is removed, it will come out on its thread and will expose the washer. This rubber washer is the actual component that seals the water off. So normally when a tap is leaking, it's because that washer has worn away. It's either worn or become damaged. And that damage is causing now it not to sit nicely onto its seating. There's a brass ring inside the tap that the washer engages onto. It's called a seating. And when the washer engages, as it pushes down, it forms a waterproof seal. They come in standard sizes, normally 1/2 inch or 3/4. So you remove the old washer, that can now be discarded. Replace that with a new one. That goes into what we call the jumper, which is that section there that holds the washer. So now we've replaced it with a new washer. That washer now is nice and smooth and flat, and therefore will push down onto the brass seating, giving it a good solid connection. We then re-engage the headwork into the body of the tap. You need to be careful at that time that you don't dislodge the water seal. This particular O-ring, this one has an O-ring, other fittings have a white or a red washer. You need to make sure that that doesn't get dislodged because that forms part of the water seal. Drop it down into the body of the tap, tighten it up. Take it to finger tight. Then normally about sort of 1/2 a turn, something like that, until you can feel that it takes a reasonable pressure. Don't over tighten it. The brass components, very important that you don't over tighten them because you don't want to put too much stress on the thread. If it leaks, you can always turn the water off again and tighten it up a bit. You've tightened that up, you then repeat the process. The wheel goes back on. Screw, retaining screw gets done back up. Lastly, put the plastic cap over the top. And as simple as that, we now have a fully operating tap that will turn on and off without dripping. So that's how you repair a dripping tap.